Bangladesh is a country in South Asia that gained its independence in 1971. The population is half that of the United States, but its land area is only slightly smaller than the state of Iowa. It is made up almost entirely of Bengali people, and the population is almost entirely Muslim. Christians make up only 0.3% of the population. Yet, there are small, vibrant communities of believers sharing the love of Christ where and when they can. According to Open Doors, Bangladesh ranks 26th out of the 50 countries where Christians face the most extreme persecution. Today, our team is teaching at a conference for underground believers. Many of them have suffered for their faith. Our ministry partners here also live by faith through your partnership. They are sharing the love of Christ in practical ways, including the distribution of Bibles, nutritious food, fresh water, school supplies, and hygiene items. So thank you for all you do. As an American traveling in Bangladesh, it is hard not to notice some stark contrast between our two countries. Unfortunately, there is a much lower standard of living here, and the country is dominated by a religion that suppresses women and minorities and believes conquest is often the way to advance itself. Now, before you think I'm judging with a blind eye, it is important to remind ourselves that Christians have been guilty of these same mistakes through the centuries. Sad but true. What has made America different is that we believe in a society of freedom and free will guided by moral laws. One could argue further that we have been blessed by God as the richest nation ever to exist because these laws were based on a Judeo-Christian ethic. They were established by Him. Yet today, these morals are eroding like a shoreline in a never-ending hurricane. I continue to feel burdened to pray for our country. And so I've warned about the spiritual deterioration in the country a few times before. Most recently, I shared a message in front of the church where George Washington prayed for the country on the night of his inauguration. No doubt you're familiar with these famous words from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We proclaimed as a nation that we are one nation under God, and in God we trust. And we have also promoted freedom around the world. Further, we have been the world's largest sender and supporter of missionaries and Bible translation. So, is God the reason America has been great? Many Christians, including me, believe it is, because the country was founded on the premise of being dedicated to God. Now, to be sure, the so-called founding fathers were deeply flawed individuals, just like we are. Our country has made massive mistakes, especially in the treatment of minorities and women. We are the wealthiest nation the world has ever seen. And so with God's blessing comes responsibility. To whom much is given, much is required. So, what have we done with this responsibility? Over the decades, we have taken God's blessing and steadily turned our backs on moral objectivity. Since at least the 1950s, there has been a decade-long trend of removing God from government, schools, businesses, and the public square. Many now believe we are living in a post-Christian America. We are the world's largest producer of pornography. Our elected officials of both parties have created financial debt that can never be paid off. We could very well live to see America's fall from our position, or even its downfall, in our lifetime, whatever that might look like. As a nation, we have forgotten that we serve God, who is the blessed and only ruler, the King of kings and Lord of lords, who is the ruler of the kings of the earth. Our prosperity over time has made us independent of Him. Faith is not needed for our daily living because we have everything available at our fingertips like no civilization before. The responsibility that comes with God's material blessing on America has been increasingly neglected. Now, we are in danger of God's judgment. We must pray for repentance and revival. This is also an important reminder that as much as we love our country and what it once stood for, we don't go to heaven as Americans. We go as followers of Christ. Our citizenship is in heaven, as Paul says in Philippians 3:20. He also declared that Jews and Gentiles are fellow citizens with God's people and also members of His household. With this in mind, how do we live in a post-Christian America? Peter warned the Christians living in a non-Christian society in his day. He said, "Dear friends, I urge you as foreigners and exiles to abstain from sinful desires which wage war against your soul." We must resist the temptations that are all around us. John referred to this as the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. So, what do we do? First, we must embrace the greatest gift we will ever be given as believers, the salvation that only comes through Jesus Christ. Second, this salvation should motivate us to tell those around us that Jesus is the only hope. Believers here in Bangladesh are risking their very lives to do so. Third, we should have a perspective on life that is proper. I have a saying that everything beyond salvation is a bonus. Why? Because our eternity is secure, no matter what happens with our earthly life. Therefore, we should have peace and joy in the midst of the best of circumstances or the very worst. One day, Jesus will return. There will be no more governments or countries working against the cause of Christ. There is only one infinitely wise and just King. And when He returns, His kingdom will never end. He will reign forever and ever. Until that day comes, let us be found faithful. God bless you.